My elders used to say, I woke up today, clothed in my right mind with a reasonable portion of health and strength. So I'm blessed. What if we had more than a reasonable portion? What does that look like? What does that feel like? I'm Dr. Ralph Basui Watkins. Let's talk it out. So much of today's public discourse involves yelling, interrupting, and attacks designed to hurt someone rather than hear them. Whatever happened to dialogue that builds bridges? In the Christian scriptures, the book of Romans, chapter 14 and verse 19, it encourages us to pursue the things which make for peace and the building up of one another. That is the approach I will take as we engage in conversation on some of the most crucial issues of our time. Again, I'm Dr. Ralph Basui Watkins, and today we're having a conversation about health, wellness, and the spirit. We have one body, one temple, and it could be hard to know the best way to take care of it. There's so much information out there regarding diets, medication, exercise, programs, and herbs. And in many cases, a lot of disagreement on what's good for you. Well, I'm a doctor, but not that kind. But I have two guests who are. They're here to help us navigate through this clutter that is the health and wellness market. They are Dr. Harris Frank, Doctor of Traditional Chinese Medicine and licensed acupuncturist in private practice in Peachtree City, and Dr. Maiysha Clairborne, integrative medicine doctor and founder of Mind, Body, Spirit Wellness, Inc. here in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to Talk It Out. I'm glad you all are here. So Dr. Clairborne, tell me, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a physician. I'm a medical doctor. And one of the things as a doctor that I couldn't take was how medicine was going. Even back many years ago, I wanted to do something different with medicine. So I specialize in integrative medicine. What does that mean? I integrate in holistic therapies with my traditional medical degree. So that means I have my foot in both sides of the just both worlds, basically. So I integrate in things like coaching, stress management, herbal therapies, nutritional management, stress management into the traditional types of conditions that I see day to day.
Interesting. Now, a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine.
Yes.
Also with this thing called acupuncturist. What do you do?
As a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, I do primarily acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine. I also offer guidance with dietary therapies, as well as exercise and meditation. All of these things are things that go back thousands of years in China, which is where acupuncture comes from, Chinese herbal medicine comes from, and many forms of meditation like Qigong and Tai Chi come from. And so I also have a very integrative focus. I've spent 4 years working at a cancer hospital, for example, doing acupuncture in that setting. And so my goal is to help patients to find new states of health using interventions that are almost more non-interventions. So eating the right foods, perhaps using a low-grade intervention like acupuncture to help people gracefully go to a place of health and healing without having to take on pharmaceuticals or surgeries or procedures that have their own risks that may even exceed the quality of life benefit they might get.
Okay, so this is kind of scary to me. Okay, so I think about acupuncture and all the stuff we're talking about, and I have these kind of visions of these kind of things I've seen on TV, needles, and I'm kind of scared of needles. You're talking about health and wholeness. Like I just watched this documentary. I think it was called What the Health?
Yes.
And I thought when I was done, what can I now eat? So give me a sense of this kind of holistic approach, the work that you talk about, Dr. Clairborne, and this kind of broadness and depth of what it means to live a whole life. As we said in the opening here, that we've talked about a reasonable portion of our mind, health, and strength. Can we get beyond a reasonable portion? And what does that look like? And how could you help me do that?
Well, so the first thing we have to do is we have to really get responsible that we are the ones that are responsible for our own health and wellness. And people like myself and Dr. Harris are guides from being unwell to being well. So when we get responsible and we start to educate ourselves on all this out there, the different types of nutrition and eating and what's good for us, then that empowers us to be able to live well. So I'm a lifestyle girl. I'm completely a lifestyle girl, and I believe that everything you need to heal yourself can be put into your body through eating, can be managed through meditation and stress management. And then, like Dr. Harris said, these low-grade interventions. So what I typically do is I assess what people are already doing on a day-to-day basis. What are they already doing? And what can we tweak? What can we tweak, or in some cases overhaul, that will help them to be empowered to live a more healthy life? And what I like to do is teach people how to fish. A lot of times you get practitioners that want to put a Band-Aid on. They want to give you a medication for this, or they may even send you and say, do this type of diet. But diets are not really sustainable long term. What we need to be doing is learning how to fish, because when you learn how to shop healthy, when you learn how to read labels, when you learn what foods are healthy for you and how to make those healthy foods taste good, because that's the key to healthy eating, is making healthy foods taste good, then you're learning how to fish, and it becomes easy for you to be able to maintain that healthy lifestyle.
Doc, look, she talked about make healthy foods taste good. And you put some ham hocks in the greens. You know what I'm talking about? That's how you make healthy food taste good. You take some chicken and put it in some grease and fry it. That make healthy food taste good. And now, Doc, I'm just joking, right? But I think that is part of the struggle. But how do we begin to manage this, and are we willing to be transformed and go against some of the things that we have been taught? So, when you think about this, and you have this label of an acupuncturist, but I know it's deeper than that. It's broader than that, right? There are other things that traditional Chinese medicine also has in its kind of repertoire. So talk a little bit about that. What else do you do other than just put needles in me?
Sure.
Which I'm kind of scared of.
Well, first of all, the needles themselves are not something that you're going to be scared of. These are extremely thin needles. These are things not like an injection. This is not something that you would get like a flu shot. That's a much bigger needle. Also, they're not inserted into blood vessels. They're not inserted into nerves. It's all into soft tissue, extremely thin. It looks more like a pin, not like a needle that you would think about at a doctor's office. Out of 100 patients, maybe one of them is going to even have a bruise. In my 10 years of practice, I've never even used a Band-Aid, okay? And so we're talking about very, very easy stuff.
You relax me some now. I feel okay. I may come visit you. but talk about, you have herbs and other things that you use. It's not just simply I come to you for needles to be stuck in me for healing, right? Yeah. And I want to talk more deeply, more intelligently about that than I just stated that. I mean, what else is involved in Chinese traditional medicine?
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with what both of you talked about being willing. And so a patient, in order for me to help somebody, there's a few criteria that have to happen when I'm looking at kind of assessing what level of healing they're looking for. Patient needs to needs to ask for help, needs to ask for the specific kind of help that I'm going to offer. Then they need to be doing something or want to do something to actively help themselves. Okay, and so how I approach a person is going to very much depend on how those two questions are answered, and that speaks to the personal responsibility and the level of responsibility that person is at this point in time. Okay, so if somebody is coming to me and they specifically want to focus on their knee pain, and
knee.
They don't at all want to talk about the Krispy Kreme donut habit that they have on the side, then I'm not going to go to Krispy Kreme right now. Yeah. We're going to focus on knee pain, and then maybe at some point I might plant a seed and suggest that maybe engaging in a new lifestyle that might decrease weight would actually improve their knees over time. But if that person isn't really willing to go there, then it's actually unethical for me to even go there with the patient, because at that point now I'm not really responding to where they're at. I'm kind of going according to my agenda as a healer, and that's not really what it's about. This is about helping the person, and so I need to be a good listener and really respond to where they're at in their process and respect that that's happening according to beyond what I know.
But that desire has to be there, right?
But the desire has to be there, right, so they need to be asking for help.
So when I come to see Dr. Harris Frank, the issue is I need to want to be better, want to get better. So that's
Sure.
a key part of this, right? So
Or else, why are you there?
But I think sometimes we've been taught to go to be treated and get out the quick fix. I want to get a cortisone shot that lasts for 10 years and I'm done.
Yeah.
So I can go back to eating what I've eating, have the same lifestyle, don't make the changes. So I'm back to the same doctors. I think we think a lot of ways in traditional medicine, but we're talking about there's a better, more healthy, and more whole way to live. So talk to me, Doc, how I get beyond that, because I've been taught you go to the doctor, get the shot, now you're done, but I know I'm really not fixed. So I got to come back and 10 years, get another shot.
Right.
So how do we get to this mindset of thinking more holistically? And where does this come from that we don't think that way?
Well, so we have to start by being open. And I think Dr. Harris pinned it when he said willing. But it's on us to, you made a great point, plant the seed. Plant the seed. And there are so many different resources out there. I mean, we're on the internet, we're on Facebook. The people who watch Dr. Oz, these seeds are being planted. Now, you know, some of these seeds are
not good seeds.
Not good seeds.
Some of the informations are they're confusing seeds. But my point is that the seeds are being planted. So then it's up to the person to be willing and open to receive those seeds and allow those seeds to grow. When that happens, then all there is to do is seek out the professionals who can guide you properly.
That's good.
To
right.
Be able to make the appropriate changes.
I get confused when I see the commercial that says you can lose 45 pounds with no exercise. It's buy this thing. Really? That don't make no sense, right? So we need professional help to help us weed through some of the seeds, because some of those seeds are weeds, right, and not healthy. So how do you in your work, Doc, help us work through that piece? So I come to you, I'm trying to make sense of all this. I actually want to get better, but I've been taught that I go to a doctor or go to some kind of weight management place,
Sure.
and I go to the gym and I'm cool. And you're saying to me it's more than that.
Absolutely. And so what you're going to do is, if you're really asking for help, you know, and if it's true, it's like, Doc, I want to come in here. My life is heading in a direction that I can see is not going to be for quality of life. You know, I want help to shift all of that. And it's like, okay, so this is a person who's really there, really wants to do it. Okay, so what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the diagnostic techniques of Chinese medicine, which looks at the person physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all of those together to come up with a
say that again?
Physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally.
Okay.
And so all of those aspects kind of go into a particular diagnosis. It's a particular pattern of disease, a pattern of pathology that occurs, and that the system of Chinese medicine is able to diagnose. And so based off of that, I'm going to be able to come up with a integrated set of recommendations, which may encompass acupuncture or other clinical modalities. It might be cupping or moxibustion or other things that we do in the clinic. It'll also be perhaps an exercise that you're going to take home with you. It could be a meditation. It's most likely, especially in our world today, going to be dietary recommendations. Less Krispy Kreme, more collard greens. That's going to be.
You saw that. He
like that,
a
right?
preacher. He said less Krispy Kreme, more collard greens. You might got some preaching. I like that. Have you come to Wheat Street and preach one Sunday?
Anytime.
No, get the ham, I got the collard green. Yeah, but that diet change is important, right?
No doubt.
But I think that's why I think we struggle sometimes, an issue this diet change. At least I do. But look, y'all, it's a lot, and we're gonna try our best to weed through, the seed through, and get through, to be better, to be healthier, to be whole, and that's part of it. Our desire. We had a lot of conversation. We got to take a break. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back in just a second to talk more about how I may have a fuller, wholer, and healthier life. Stay with us. So welcome back. And in the break, I was just trying to think about, where does this all start? We're in this time of year where we have all these things thrown at us. So where do I begin the process of moving forward?
Well, in order to know that, to answer that question, I have to explain a little bit that you have to understand we go through these processes and these stages of change. So at first, we don't even know there's anything wrong. That's called pre-contemplation. We don't know there's anything to change. And then there's something that happens. Usually it's something, that we get a diagnosis, or a family member, there's a tragedy, or it's the new year. And we all make these, New Year's resolutions. So we start to contemplate, we start to think about, I need to make a change. Should I do this? Should I do that? What do I need to do? When we get to the point where we want to actually make the change, a lot of people jump straight into action. However, you need to jump into the preparation phase, because preparation is the key to successful action. So where we start is, once we know that we want to take action, we need to prepare. And again, we talked about this, in the last segment. Sometimes you need to find the appropriate professional to help you make that transition. But there are several levels of preparation. You got to declare it to yourself, then you got to go public with it, right? Because when you go public, then you're held accountable. I think one of the most important things in preparation is to have an accountability partner, whether it be a professional, whether it be a church member, whether it be a work member. You see these people having these walk groups or these food challenges. These are the types of things that you can do to prepare. Now, in terms of, it depends on what action you're taking, whether it's exercise or whether it's eating. You want to create a plan, a strategy, because with a plan and a strategy to follow, you're more likely to be successful. You already know what you're gonna do.
I think it's the hard part, right? The effort and work it takes to get this done. That we sometimes think, I think we're told in the media, there can be these quick fixes, right? Now, I've declared to my church that I'm gonna be in great shape. I've told them I'm gonna climb Mount Kilimanjaro this summer, and I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. So that kind of public declaration has kind of held me accountable. But I think what I've wrestled with too, Doc, is this issue of compartmentalizing these things. That I take care of the weight issue and this exercise issue, but it's deeper, right? It's broader. It's talk about that.
Absolutely. When you're talking about authentic change that's lasting, that's going to be that a person is going to go from this level of quality of life to a whole other place. It comes from resolve. It comes from resolve that's internal, that's deep, where the person says, I am going to change my life. When that person says that authentically, and they do that either publicly but mostly it has to come from inside. When they resolve to change, then we can bring in the tools, empower that person to change. It's like when the person is ready to change, then you can give them the tools they need. But if not, they're not even tools at that point. They're just these kind of amorphous things that don't really help. And so in the Chinese system, we look at any sort of cycle like this as a seasonal cycle. And so usually it starts in the fall when the leaves are falling, and basically at that point you're confronted with some reality of life that you were not happy with. And then from there you go to winter, which is marked by big storms, and then that peaceful, cold stillness that exists in the winter. And so that's usually a time where change is happening underneath, where you're not really conscious of it. And so even though everything is dead on the surface, the soil underneath is really starting to change. And then spring is when the first new growth shows up. You see the sprouts, you see the flowers, you see all these things. And then summer is when you really start to ramp up, when full growth is happening, the sun is out, the energy is easy, it's easy to move forward. And then the cycle happens again. But yeah, all of our change cycles tend to happen through that kind of seasonal perspective. Now everybody wants to go from fall to spring.
Yes.
Everyone wants to go from where everything is dying and it's kind of stark to hearts and flowers, butterflies, and all of that.
So you say it doesn't work that way?
It don't work that way.
So Dr. Clairborne, talk to me about that, though, in terms of is what Dr. Frank is talking about, this issue of this seasonal change within this holistic piece of the mind, the body, the spirit. Talk a little bit about that. What role does that play, this kind of spiritual issue that sustains us, the psychological, the emotional, the communal? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, first of all, that was a beautiful, beautiful change metaphor. I love that.
That was good. He got a little preach in him, though.
He does. He's got a little preach, a little poet.
He's painting pictures and using his hands.
That's right.
He might be my cousin and don't know it.
Maybe.
Well, yes, and one thing I just want to add before I answer that question is we tend to want to jump into big actions, and one of the ways to be successful is to take incremental actions and celebrate along the way. So in transitioning, our mindset, it's important that we know that, number one, we're deserving. We're deserving of all the good things that we have to achieve. And from a mindset standpoint, I think that sometimes we compare ourselves to societal norms and think that we should be a certain way when our heart is in another place. But we have to understand who we really are, what our values really are, and what's important to us on a core level. And how we do that is to really be connected to our higher self. to our higher self and to the universe. So I mean, that's basically what you do. You help to connect people to their higher self, and that's part of what I do and what Dr. Frank does as well, is we connect people to their higher self to help them see how deserving they are to be fully well. A lot of times people are holding on to old negative emotions and limiting decisions about themselves that help them to keep on that baggage that doesn't help them to move forward, that self-sabotages them and moving forward into being well. And that's the role that the mind and the emotions play in our well-being that we often ignore. We often don't give creator credit to.
And I wonder sometimes if we become comfortable being sick and don't know that we can actually be well. I think sometimes the standard is so low. Like someone said, I'm just getting old. Well, you can work with that, right, and be healthy even as you're getting old. Am I right?
Absolutely. The I'm getting old excuse is the first one that I want to, try to just, dispel that person of, because we have a body, we are gifted with these bodies that have huge mileage potentials. And it's only if we, misuse this beautiful body is where that getting old piece, it's basically wear and tear. And so, but that doesn't have to happen. You just have to learn how to use your body correctly so that it does last for all those miles.
And I think we've been taught to this abuse, or you say getting this higher power that I deserve this, right?
Yes.
And I think part of it is this kind of reorientation of how we think about our bodies, think about how we use them, and how we connect to this thing bigger than ourselves, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, think about, so, to your point, think about a car. Think about, if you think about a Toyota or a Hyundai, these cars can get 200,000, 300,000 miles on them if you take care of them, if you service them every, 6 months, get your oil changes every 3 months, when you pay attention to the check engine light when it comes on. But if you abuse it, then the car is going to be like a Yugo. And I've never driven a Yugo personally, but my understanding is they don't last very long.
I think they're no longer with us, right?
Exactly, because they didn't take care of themselves. So that's the thing is we take care of our cars oftentimes better than we take care of ourselves. And that's a point that I often bring to my patients and to my colleagues even, is that when your check engine light comes on, you need to pay attention to that.
And I think that's part of it, right? And I think, too, where you take your car to be serviced.
Yes.
Right? Or where you take your body to be serviced. Because we've been taught to go to traditional medicine, which I think, as we had this conversation, has not been the best. It has its purpose, and I'm not degrading, but I'm saying there are other ways to think about this. And I think that part of us is being open to these other ways of wholeness and healing and health and walking in a different light. So if I was sitting watching this and I said, well, I'm going to go get my checkup this year, should I just go get my traditional physical, or are there other places that I might want to check out?
Yeah, I think that's important. And I want to stress that what I do, what Dr. Maiysha does, is not going to replace conventional medicine in any way. I think there's a tremendous role for it. The benefits of conventional medicine are incredible. If you get in a car wreck, don't call me. Go to the hospital. Right. Okay, that's like the first thing. But
and probably Grady, but go ahead.
Right. But 3 weeks later, as you're trying to recover and you're working through some sort of injury, we don't want to make it chronic. Now is the time to call me. Okay. And so if the right way to do this is if you're contemplating an intervention that's trying to work through some sort of chronic condition, and the solution is either going to be a surgical intervention, or I'm going to just have to be on this drug for the rest of my life. That kind of thing is a very good opportunity to start to work through some sort of holistic modality.
Yeah, and I think we sometimes accept that, right, that we have this table full of pills. And I think sometimes I go to the doctors, whom I respect, love, and it's been very helpful for me, but sometimes it's like, what is this? Is this a drug exchange or health exchange, right? But you're saying to me that I can have healthy herbal supplements that can help me through as well. Am I right?
Yes, and changing the diet. It's simple as changing
the talking about that diet.
Yes, you know what? It's the foundation. The diet is the foundation. Let thy food be medicine. That's what Hippocrates said, right?
Eat less. You're talking about diet. Mean that how I manage what I eat is so important.
How you manage what you eat.
That I take control of what I put in my mouth. That I take control of my shopping, my preparation.
That's
It's not that I eat less of. I eat better. I eat right. I make this, as you said earlier, make healthy food taste good.
Yes. So, you want to figure out what you like And then you want to look. There are so many online resources, so many websites. When I see my patients, I actually give them a sheet of paper with a ton of links that they can go to and find healthy recipes. And I'm a single mom, so 30 minutes or less for me. And I know that there are a lot of professional people out there that they're like, I don't want to be slaving over the stove for hours and hours trying to make this healthy meal. You don't have to. So number one, what is it that you like? What is it that you're willing to try that may be a little bit outside the box? And then what are the resources online, the website, the professional resources that you can get to that can help you to see how you can start to prepare your good old Southern foods differently? Yeah, and it's possible because I'm from Alabama, and I'm from Huntsville, Alabama.
And you talking like this right here. She been changed. The Lord done touched her life. You talking about change? This sister been converted. She said she's from Huntsville, Alabama, and she took the ham hock out of the green. Oh, Lord Jesus.
And they taste just as good.
Oh!
You ought to see our Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh! Y'all don't have no ham on the table.
No ham on the table. We have an epidemic of addiction in this country to sugar. Yes. To sugar and carbs. And there are studies that show that sugar lights up the same areas of the brain as heroin. So this is a very, very addictive food. And now what happens is when you detox your body of sugar and carbs, and you start to eat the healthy things, your body will want more of that. And as soon as you go back and fall off the horse, you will feel it. It will be like, your body will be tired again, it'll be sluggish again. And so, yes, to your point, when you shift your diet, you'll feel better, but your body will crave the healthier things. It'll crave what it's supposed to have.
Well, look, I don't know about y'all, but this brother's been converted. I am making a decision. I want this body to last a long time so that I can do what God put me on this earth to do. If I take care of this temple, the only one I have, I'm going to live a longer life, a more productive life. And I hope you hear what we're talking about. I want to thank my two guests, Dr. Harris Frank of Peachtree City Acupuncture in Peachtree City, Georgia, and Dr. Maiysha Clairborne of Mind, Body, Spirit Wellness, Inc. here in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, don't you go away because I'll be back with my thoughts. So here's what I think. I'm thinking about making a change. I think we become comfortable with being sick. We become comfortable with a mediocre sense of health, wellness, and being. We've talked about a reasonable portion of health and strength. We can have so much more. And I hope you, like me, during this time of year, commit to living a better life, a more whole life, a more complete life. There are ways to do it. We saw the help on this show. Seek out that help. You take care of this temple will take care of you. I began to realize just how I've abused this temple by what I eat, by not getting enough rest, and or by compartmentalizing my approach to health. But I'm going to stop eating this or I'm going to run. But it has to have all those components: mind, body, spirit, soul. And yes, get the help you need. You can't do this alone. There are people out there to help you. Find those partners, get it done, and live that life. That's what I think. We also want to know what you think. Write to me at programming@abbtv.com and follow me on Twitter at Ralph Basui. Remember, you may very well change the world if you'll just talk it out.